let's speed this up. Let's rush up the slow rush. We need to make it a fast rush.
Gotta go fast.
I don't want to talk about this for too long.
This is Sonic the Hedgehog with the slow rush.
The slow rush was how long it took to make his remodel. Time to go over the latest Tame Impala album, The Slow Rush.
Wow. Tame Impala is basically one dude, Kevin Parker. He is an Australian psych rock band in and of himself. And he plays all of his instruments except for when they go on tour, in which case the members of Pond play all of their instruments.
And Gum.
Gum, yeah, I guess Gum's there too, but it's mostly Pond. I don't know. The whole concept of Tame Impala is like really weird to me, but it's very interesting. Tame Impala is probably best known for the past couple albums, Lonerism back in 2012, and then Currents back in 2015, both of which sound completely different from one another, and also in turn completely different from the album that just got put out, The Slow Rush.
Yeah, Lonerism was more exciting, bold, creatively boundary pushing, while Currents is my personal favorite. It's more moody, synthetic, mind melting, and just full of emotion and tenderness throughout. Very warm on the heartstrings. This new release started off with some singles that I thought were okay. They didn't.
I personally didn't really care for the singles. I thought some of them were okay, but really a lot of them didn't really hit super hard for me. There's the one that sounded like Redbone. I don't remember which one that was.
I think that may be the first one that
it might have been Posthumous Forgiveness.
But going throughout the singles, they seem way less ambitious or strange, just more straightforward indie rock with a psych twist, more synthetic elements that really didn't seem all that distinctive, unlike the elements of Currents, were very boundary pushing, very bold, and very polished, stylistically grandiose. This album, at first I listened to it and the initial reaction was, yeah, I think this is okay. I thought it was catchy. I thought it was fun. I don't think it's better than the last two. But as time goes on, thinking back on their past releases, Lonerism and Currents. And Lonerism, I respect as an album. I really enjoy it, but I don't remember much of it. And even going back and listening to that, comparing it to this, it's two separate worlds. Lonerism is just completely on a different level than this.
From Australia. It's on the other side of the world. Of course you don't understand it. But
Lonerism is really, again, boundary pushing what it is. Very large sound, keeps your attention. And this album really doesn't need that. It doesn't do that at all. It really doesn't have anything super flashy or interesting or experimental to it. Doesn't really seem like it's showcasing that many new ideas. We get glimpses of some new stuff, like some brilliantly vocoded vocal loops on One More Year, which are really fun and frantic, and they give you in this hypnotic headspace, and it relates to the track being about the guy trying to get himself through everyday life by just saying it's only 365 days in the next year. Let's do it. Let's just move forward. It's not that long. We can push forward. So I think that track succeeded at what it was, but tracks like Borderline, while average, are still catchy. They have these really hypnotic, simple hooks and these mind-melting synth loops. The vocals on the bridge are super infectious with "Will I be known? Will I be loved?" It just that pronunciation, that how he talks on the beat, I think is really frantic and gets really catched in your mind. I don't think the track's all that boundary pushing or really anything to its own, because I think it really resembles the current state of indie rock in a lot of places. But a lot of this album is tracks like Posthumous Forgiveness, which is basically a bunch of cool synth ideas that don't lead anywhere. They just play out, and they seem like they're a chill vibe, but other than that, there's no purpose to them. They don't lead to any cool soundscapes, any cool lyrical moments, any cool draws of emotion. Just they come off as very flat. They're huge, but they don't mean anything. Same thing with tracks like On Track, One More Hour, Glimmer, Is It True? They all come off as mixed explorations or demos that, at the end of the day, they just lead on. They don't go anywhere.
I think there's a real disconnect between like Kevin Parker and the fans here. And I used to think like I guess I was more on par with like what Kevin Parker wanted to accomplish with Tame Impala versus like what he wants to accomplish with a group like Pond or any other like different collaborations that he does. And I've been hanging out a lot with one of my coworkers. Absolutely loves Tame Impala. Like we talk about this all the time. His favorite group of all time, and he was so hyped for this album to come out, and would send me all sorts of like interviews with Kevin Parker, and he would talk about things like how when Currents was first released, he was like, "This is completely unlistenable." Kevin Parker like did not want to release Currents because he thought it was absolute garbage, and then it came out and everybody just went nuts for it. Like I think that the album was like very poppy and very groovy, and at the time when it was released, I think everybody was eating it up. And now he's coming out saying like, "Yeah, that album sucked." Like what? And then Pond's last release
that he did production on,
yeah, I didn't really care for that.
That sucked. It was very bland and boring.
Exactly, but like that's the kind of music that like he wanted to put out, and it took him forever to make this album. And he's
5 years
exactly, and he's got these singles on it that I think didn't really like resonate really well with me, or as you said yourself. So I was really like leaning on some of these deeper cuts to make me more excited about the album. And I think like in some ways they did. I really like tracks like Breathe Deeper. I think it's really groovy and fun. Is It True? You said it's kind of like a demo, but I guess fans are calling this the Less I Know the Better track. You know what I mean? Like, this is probably the most poppy track on here.
Yeah.
And I think it's really fun and really groovy, like that, "Is it true? Is it true?" I just love the groove that you get in. Tomorrow's Dust, everybody keeps saying is like the worst track on here. And yeah, I would agree that it goes on for a long time.
There's some nice like swirling guitars and pumpy drums, but there's a disconnect between Kevin's voice and the progression.
Exactly. I really like the like dusty guitar work on here, as well as these like rolling synths and these ripping guitars in the background, but I don't think it was mixed very well.
Yeah.
And the teaser track for this, like that was like the teaser for the album when it first came out. It was like on his Instagram story or something. And it sounded so cool. He only released maybe like 20 seconds of the track, and it was like that, those flowing synths all over the place, and it just doesn't translate well. Once those vocals were added, I feel like it lost some of its magic.
Yeah.
It's still one of my favorite tracks on here because I like all the stuff going on in the background, but like it leads me to my biggest criticism. I wish Kevin would lay off the vocals a little bit and just kind of let these tracks breathe. To me, these tracks feel really smothered in his vocals.
And that's what made moments like Let It Happen, the extended mix, like the unsingle version on Current, so popular. It's just that huge escalation at the end that built it up so much.
Right.
Or on moments like New Person, Same Old Mistakes, where it's the synths building up in this beautiful melody.
Yes. He gives those tracks time to breathe. But like on here, there's really not much downtime between Kevin talking. I think like the very beginning of the whole album on One More Year with these like vocal loops that they're really like glitchy. One more. I love that. But he actually lets the track like grow and build into something before he comes in on the vocals. And I think that really gives it some sort of magic. But for the rest of this, I just feel like Kevin is singing in my ear the entire time. Like, get out of here.
Yeah, and also
breathing down my neck.
The use of like lo-fi effects or these like these faded or hazy mixes like on tracks like Instant Destiny are cool, but like I think he overuses them to where they don't have a point on this. Like, they're stylistically interesting, but they don't serve any purpose besides like giving a nostalgic sense to the mix. But like, I don't know, there was moments like that on Currents, but I don't feel like they fit as well here because they just randomly put in these spots without any build up with tracks before or after.
Right. I mean, I got to give it to him. Like, I think that this album means a little more to me because I have like personal memories linked to it and like different conversations like linked to the songs. But if I'm rating it like just musically, it's definitely like a little lower than that.
Yeah, I don't care for this overall. Like, I think I don't really, besides One More Year, I don't think I will return to anything. Maybe Lost in Yesterday a bit, or maybe Borderline, but I don't think I have any reason to return. I find this very mediocre. I find it very safe. It reminds me a lot of artists who put out two fantastic records and then played it safe with an album, and that is Gorillaz. They put out Demon Days, Plastic Beach, then they put out Humans, which was a mess.
The Fall.
But then they did the Now as a very safe release, but even as a safe release, I think that had way more interesting moments, even though it was just a toned down Damon Albarn. And I think its safe moments are just super extended and boring and don't really lead anywhere interesting or have any sense of atmosphere to them.
Another thing that Kevin Parker mentioned, is that he took a ton of time on the drums on this. Did you notice?
I didn't notice any drums.
I didn't either. He was like, yeah, I made sure I really took time with the drums. I wanted them to be just fantastic. And
but
I didn't even realize that they were doing anything like super good.
The only notes I have on drums is there's constant kicks on One More Year, which are okay, but that's like basic. That is just
no. These are just basic beat keeping. I don't think that he's doing anything like incredible.
And then I wrote the same down for Tomorrow's Dust is with the pumpy kicks. That's it. That's a little the notes I wrote about drums being really interesting or interesting at all. Is more about the things, how they interacted with the things around them than themselves. So I think that's funny. I don't have anything else to say. So keeping in mind, those scores are futile meaningless right now. I think this is a big boy 5.
Okay, I'm gonna give it. I think like I guess I'm gonna have to go with a 6.
Okay, that's good. And I hope we hear better music in the future, because this is very reminiscent. It's a better Pond. That's what this is. It's just a more polished Pond.
Yeah.
And I didn't subscribe to Tame Impala to hear Pond A sides.
That's yeah. I didn't necessarily want that. I definitely like more of it than I think that you did.
Yeah.
And if I had to rate it based on personal connection, I'd probably give it a 7, but specifically musically, I'd have to give it a 6.
Yeah.